You know, what can a text that's 2,000 years old really teach us about empathy and conflict in our world today? Well, it turns out a whole lot. We're going to dive into a chapter from the Gospel of Luke and see how its ancient wisdom is, believe it or not, a super practical guide for modern compassion.
So let's jump right in with the very question that kicks the whole thing off. This is a big one, right? It immediately creates this tension, putting our need for order up against our gut feeling of what's actually right. And the story starts with the direct challenge to that very idea.
And this brings us to our first major theme, this classic showdown between rigid black and white rules and just fundamental human needs. And let's be honest, this isn't some ancient problem. We see this exact thing play out all the time.
So picture this. It's the Sabbath, the holy day of rest. Jesus' disciples are hungry, so they do what hungry people do. They pick some grain to eat. But right away, the religious authorities, the Pharisees, are on them. They see one thing and one thing only, a rule being broken. That's unlawful. And this is where the whole conflict gets reframed. The Pharisees are stuck on one question: is it lawful? But Jesus just flips the script. He doesn't get into a debate about the law. He changes the entire question. His focus shifts completely to needs and well-being. Is what we're doing good? Is it helping someone? Is it life-giving? And he doesn't just talk about it, he demonstrates it. On another Sabbath, he sees a man with a shriveled hand, and right there, in front of everyone, he heals him. He basically forces them to confront the real choice. Is it better to stick to a rule or to do good? The point is crystal clear. Human need comes first, and any rule, any law, should be there to help people, not to get in the way of compassion. Okay, so that initial confrontation, that was really just the warm-up act. It sets the stage for a much deeper teaching, basically a whole new operating system for how we relate to each other and the world around us.
Now, to help us really unpack this, we're going to look at it through a modern lens called nonviolent communication, or NVC. At its core, NVC is all about shifting away from the language of blame and judgment, asking, is it lawful, and moving toward a language that gets at our universal needs and feelings. It's actually a perfect tool for getting what's going on here.
So then Jesus launches into this famous sermon, and he starts by turning everything completely upside down. He says the blessed, the truly fortunate ones, are the poor, the hungry, the people who are grieving, the ones who are excluded. And then he issues a warning, a woe, to those who are comfortable, well-fed, and popular. Through that NVC lens, this isn't about rewarding or punishing. It's a powerful call to see that the people with the most urgent, unmet needs are the ones who can teach us the most about our shared humanity.
And just when you think things can't get any more challenging, he drops the biggest bombshell of all. He goes from reordering society's values to completely rewriting our most basic, hardwired instincts for dealing with conflict.
Just let that one sit for a second. This is probably one of the most difficult things ever asked of anyone. It goes against every self-preservation instinct we have that screams for fairness and justice. He's not just asking for tolerance, he's asking for active love and goodwill for the very people who want to harm you. And he doesn't leave it as some vague, abstract idea. No, he makes it incredibly practical. He gives 4 concrete examples of what this love actually looks like. It's about responding with this radical, totally unexpected generosity that just refuses to play by the same aggressive rules it's being met with.
So, what's the point of all this? Is it about just being a doormat? Not at all. From an NVC perspective, this is actually a powerful strategy. The goal is to break the cycle of retaliation. By refusing to meet anger with more anger, you introduce something brand new into the situation, the chance to stop the vicious cycle in its tracks.
Okay, but how on earth is anyone supposed to actually do this? It seems superhuman. Well, the text is very clear that this kind of radical outward action is completely impossible if you don't start with some pretty radical internal work first. And he gives us this brilliant, almost comical metaphor to show us where to start. It just perfectly nails our tendency to see every tiny flaw in other people while being completely blind to the giant plank of wood sticking out of our own eye. The instruction is simple. Before you try to fix anyone else, you have to deal with your own stuff. Real empathy always starts with self-awareness. This next line really connects all the dots. Our words, our actions, the way we judge others, none of it is random. It's the fruit that grows from whatever is going on inside of us, in our hearts. If your heart is full of judgment and anger, well, that's what's going to come out. You can't change the fruit by taping new apples on the branches. You have to go deeper and tend to the tree itself.
And this all leads us to the grand finale of the sermon. It's a final story that ties every single one of these ideas together into one simple, powerful choice about how we're going to live our lives.
First, we've got the wise builder, and notice the steps here. They hear the words, and, this is the key, they put them into practice. That practice is the digging down deep we've been talking about, that inner work. It creates a solid foundation of real empathy. So when the inevitable storms of life come crashing in, their house doesn't budge. It stands firm.
And then, in total contrast, you have the foolish builder. Now this person hears the exact same words, but that's where it stops. There's no action, no practice, no digging deep. They just build their life right there on the surface, on the shifting sand of good intentions. And the moment the real storm hits, the whole thing just collapses into total ruin.
And so this 2,000-year-old text leaves us with a question that's direct, it's personal, and it's a real challenge. It's not enough to just hear these ideas about empathy or looking inward or breaking cycles of conflict. At the end of the day, the only question that really matters is, what are you doing with them? What kind of foundation are you building on?